Hi guys, and welcome back to Wardle Restorations. Now, today's video, as you'll see from the title and thumbnail, is again about the box van. But just before we get into today's video, I wanted to say a huge thank you to all the support and kind comments on the tank wagon. The reception, it was received really well, so I really do appreciate all the support on that, especially the likes of these comments and these comments here, which I find quite amusing, but you're going to get them on any video that does slightly better than average. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please do hit the thumbs up, and if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. Feel free to take a look around at all the other projects I've got going on, but yeah, please subscribe and let's get into today's video. So in today's video, we're going to focus on something that has to be done. It's the regular maintenance of the box van, or what will become the regular maintenance, as opening up some of these axle box covers. They look like they haven't been looked after in a very long time. But what we're going to do is we're going to go around the 4 axle boxes. I've already taken the mops out, which is the piece of material that sits underneath the axle, and that's what draws the oil and lubricates the underside of the axle. They're actually with engineering at the moment, so they're dousing them in some oil, cleaning them up, and hopefully bringing a bit of life back into them. So while they're out, I thought we'd take the opportunity to clean out any of the muck and rubbish that's been sitting underneath those pads for many years now. So first thing, as I say, we've removed the pads, and they're with engineering. The next thing we need to do is to start scraping out all of the rubbish in here. Now, I imagine there'll be comments saying, why don't you use a syringe? Well, when you see from the time lapse the condition of some of the substance coming out of this, it was near on impossible to use a syringe without it getting blocked up. Although there was one axle box in particular that actually had quite a lot of water in it, so we were able to use a syringe there. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the first time lapse, and then I will talk you through each axle box as we get on with it. So this is the first axle box I tackled. Now, I think I only ended up doing a time lapse for the other 3, just because with this one I wanted to have a go cleaning out myself and make sure I wasn't getting myself in too deep before putting a video together about it. But what I noticed, or didn't notice in this one that the other 3 have, is actually this, I'm going to call it a chassis for the mop, was missing in this one. So it means that the mop, which is the piece of fabric that sits just underneath the axle, and draws oil up from the pool of oil below it, and then that draws it and lubricates the axle. The chassis that it sits on, I found one of these in the other 3, but this one didn't have one, so I'm thinking that the axle, the mop, was just sat in the pool of oil itself. Although, having a look at this, it does still, it was still being lubricated, so I'm not entirely sure how effective that was working, but we're not running at mainline speeds anytime soon, so I don't think that was going to be causing much of an issue. But if you guys do know where I can get my hands on one of these, as I say, I'm going to call it a mop chassis, but I'm sure there's a technical term that someone will probably correct me of in the comments. I'd like to be able to get my hands on one more of these. If not, I might have to try and get one fabricated. But yeah, this one was relatively easy to clean out. There was a lot of gunk. There wasn't too much water in this one. I think this particular door had done a pretty good job of keeping the water out, as everything at the bottom there is now pretty much oil. There's no water at all left in there, I don't believe. So if you've been following this series, you'll know a while ago a chap very kindly donated a axle box cover to the channel. Now, obviously doing the axle boxes here, I thought it'd be a good time to finally get the one that had been fabricated up off, which is on the other side, and put the replacement on. However, with lining this up, and I'll show you a close-up of it now, it is actually about 5mm too big for this particular axle box, which is a real shame. So it either means that I'm going to have to shave it down slightly, or just hold on to this till I find something that it will actually fit. But yeah, on that note, if you guys do know of any axle boxes or anything lying about that you might have a cover for that will perfectly fit this Great Eastern van, then please do, again, let me know in the comment section. But yeah, I really do appreciate you sending this, and I will find a use for it at some point. But what we'll do now is jump onto the second axle. So axle box number 2, and this was probably the best out of the 4 in regards to the amount of rubbish that was actually sat underneath what I'm now calling the mop chassis. But that was sat in there, that came out relatively easily, and it was just a matter of scraping away some of the rubbish that was underneath it. There wasn't very much water in this at all, so it means the door is obviously doing its job. But yeah, out of the 4, this one was definitely the best. Right, so now we get on to axle box number 3, and possibly the worst, or well, it is the worst of the 4 of them. This is the one that I mentioned at the start with the axle box cover that's been remade. As you can see, there's no lettering or anything like it, and it's a fairly thin piece of metal, but it does the job, which might explain why this one was so full of water. Obviously, if this has been remade up, it tends to suggest that at some point the one that was on here has either been damaged, knocked off, or gone missing. And this one at the bottom was full of twigs, leaves, and I mean, even if I pull the syringe out now, it is just full of water. Well, not as much now, but it was full of water. And as you'll see from the time lapse of cleaning out this one, there was a lot of splashing and stuff because, yeah, it was just 99% water. But I'm assuming that was all in there from before this cover was made up. But obviously we won't know now until I refill this up with oil, close this up, and then see in the future if it does start to get water back in there. But yeah, other than the water, the actual base of it, and as I say, that was the only concern in here really, was just the rubbish. That's all been scraped out now. From what I can feel, there's no damage or anything. There's nothing wrong with the actual axle itself. That all seems to be well lubricated, so it was still getting some lubrication, even though that was probably just oil that was sat on top of the mop rather than absorbing anything from below. So yeah, this was by far the worst one, but now it's mostly cleaned out. All I've got to do now is siphon out some of this water, and then hopefully it'll be nearly as good as new. So yeah, worst one by far. But yeah, if you know anyone who's got a spare axle box cover, please do let me know. So we'll now move on to axle box number 4. So axle box number 4, pretty similar condition actually to number 2. And again, the framework that the mop sits on is in really good condition. I'm wondering if these were actually remade. So if anyone knows anything about what these originally looked like or were designed, or whether these are actually the original, they've just been really well looked after. But yeah, this is in really good condition. Almost no sort of, and obviously it was sitting in oil, so it's pretty hard for it to corrode. But yeah, this is in really fantastic condition. Came out really easily, and this one didn't really have too much muck in it either. There was a little bit of water on this one, but I've managed to get rid of that, and now it's mostly just dirty oil, which I again need to siphon out, get that cleaned up, and then we'll be ready to put these, I'm calling them the mop frames or mop chassis, back in. I think they go in that way actually. They sit in like so. So clean this out, fill it up with oil, put these back in, and then once the actual mops themselves have been cleaned and soaked in the axle bearing oil again, they can then just slide back in the top of there. But for now, all I'm going to do is once these are clean, top the oil up to the base of here, just so they're ready for the mops to go back in. So yeah, I'm going to carry on cleaning these up, and I'll join you back in a second. So, axle boxes all cleaned out. Now, the last couple of jobs I want to do before we actually go back to putting some oil back in is, to start with, as you'll see here, I've cleaned along this bottom edge. Now, using a scraper, I'm just going to go around the 4 axle boxes and actually just scrape away some of the material, the dirt and build-up of rubbish that's sitting around the actual face of where the axle box cover sits. And this is just, hopefully, to ensure I get a nice flush fit between the cover and the axle box, and hopefully reduce any chance of any more water actually getting in there. Then once I've done that and make sure I've removed any bits that fall into here and scraped them out, I've got a nice clean fibre or a nice clean cloth here, and what I'm going to do is just clean the underside of the axles, just to make sure that any bits that I've been scraping out haven't stuck to the underside, so when the mop goes back in there's no bits of twigs and leaves or anything stuck between the mop and the actual underside of the axle itself. We don't want that to cause any unnecessary harm to the axles. So I'm going to do that, and then we will have a look at getting some oil back in. So as we slowly start to lose sunlight, I'm going to finish this job off by filling the axle boxes up a little bit, just with some Morris Golden Film, I think it's SA220, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I've got 5 litres of it here, so I'm just going to spread this out between the 4 axle boxes, and then when we get the mops back, they will then be soaked in this stuff before they're put in here, and then we can top it up all the way. So I'm going to get cracking, pouring these in, and then I'll show you the last little bit that I've been working on the box van today. So that is the axle boxes pretty much done for the box van. Now all we need to do is wait for the mops to be ready, and then they can be reinstalled. But I did mention in the last few clips ago perhaps that there's one little bit that I still wanted to work on towards the end of the day, and that was this. Now to me and you it looks like just an ordinary lamp bracket, and that is because it is. So the plan is for the box van is that if I'm using it, say with the Ruston for example, and it's only the loco and the box van, then I need somewhere to put a lamp on the front or the rear. So engineering very kindly gave me this, which they had lying around, which is just a simple vertical with the right angle here lamp bracket, and I've cleaned it up. So what it needs now is a coat of anti-corrosive primer and then some paint, and then I will install it probably on the back rear of each side of the van. But the issue is I only have one of them. So if you are a member of a Heritage Railway, or you happen to have these lying about in your house somewhere, you know, just a couple in between the sofa or something like that, if you've got one of these which are vertical that you'd be willing to sell me, please do let me know either by contacting me via email, which I'll put below, or leave a comment in the comment section down below. So just before I head off today, I'm going to get this primed, so then next time I'm down I can just bolt it onto the back of the van. So guys, that is where we're going to leave it for today's video. Now hopefully you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you like these shorter format videos. They're much easier to get out than doing longer videos, although it does mean obviously I get less done because the longer videos are over a few days. This is literally, I've done this whole video just today working on the axle boxes and then coming to take a quick look at this lamp bracket. Now a question I did ask on Instagram and Facebook, and if you've made it this far in the video, do let me know in the comment section below. If you had to preserve one wagon from any era, past or present, what wagon would it be? Now we had some fantastic suggestions over on the Facebook page, but yeah, if you've got one in mind, like for me personally, I'd love to own a mineral wagon perhaps one day, or maybe a grain wagon. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what wagon you would preserve. And other than that, if you did enjoy, please do hit the thumbs up. Any feedback, leave it in the comment section down below. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe and check out perhaps one of the other many restorations we've got going on the channel. But other than that, I will see you in the next one. Cheers.